us and the land, we are connected. If you separate us from the land, you're killing some part.
An Australian minerals company wants to exploit a roughly 22-kilometre by 1.5-kilometre stretch of what, honestly, is some of the most beautiful coastal areas I've ever seen. For over 20 years, you've been fighting this.
Yes.
Amazing.
The two brothers, Patrick and Mark Carusos, and they told us that they discovered the minerals. They said, I will mine a little bit in the dunes. I'm not going to disturb anybody. And also there will be a lot of jobs for locals, and I will build clinics, hospitals, better roads, clean water for this community. People, they said, no, we have livestock here. Our livestock eat the grass and drink this water that we have. And ourselves, we use these plants for healing ourselves. We depended on this. Now, are you not going to disturb all this? And people said, oh, no. It's clear that you're going to disturb our way of living. And this is not the way of development that we want. Please leave. And he left. We suspect that he went to the government. They told them, don't tell them the truth, that you're going to mine. Tell them that this is a study coming from this government, because it was recently after the democracy, and everybody, we trust the ANC. Nobody was against something that is coming from the ANC, because ANC is Mandela. There was a time where people were just saying that, is there any place where you can take us, Karose, where we can see the livestock is still survive, the houses are still survive, the water is still survive, because those are basic things that we don't want to be disturbed. It did take some of our elders to go there. He said that they were not allowed to go and meet the people that were closer to the mine. Don't go to the community. You see, the houses are good. But people said, no, that's not our intention. Our intention is to speak to the people that how did they survive next to this mine. But instead, they just take them to the very expensive shop, the clothing shop, to buy the suits.
They were just trying to buy them, basically.
Yes. We're waiting at Komkulu for a feedback for those people they went to Richards Bay. When they come back, they tell us the truth. They said the grass is completely dry. The water, the houses, everything is falling apart. Yes, jobs is important, but we cannot compromise our livelihood just for a short term.
Singumphakathi omdala, singumphakathi osebabantwana. Umhlaba kuthi ubaluleke kakhulu too much. Kuba sidla wona umhlaba. Sidla wona umhlaba. Uthatha umhlaba uphisa ugwede mandashe enkomo zophinda zibephi ezami. Yona bhangi yami yomuntu omnyama zezinkomo. Where they want to mine is 5 villages. This village of mine, Sikiti, is one of the villages where they're going to mine. And then when we see this thing is becoming like this, we said, no, it's better to go to Komkulu.
Can you tell me a little about Komkulu? Like, what's the meaning of that place?
Komkulu is a place where we discuss our local issues, like it's our traditional court. Apha ugqitywa khona ugqitywa komkhulu sibonda kagqibi yena ngomhlaba ugqitywa komkhulu ngesivumelwano.
So Komkulu is the power in the land. It is where decisions are made. Abantu.
In South Africa, we have two types of land tenure governance systems. We have customary land tenure systems and statutory. Customary land tenure, although sometimes tends to be the center of patriarchy, it's also constitutionally enshrined, and therefore the constitution allows space for it to continuously evolve.
Something we often say is, under customary law, the community members are in fact truly the lawyers. And so it's only our job to reflect and translate their expertise to a court sitting 2,000 kilometers away, and that can then make it legible for the legal system that we have.
So it's the community that's the power and not the lawyer, and it's not the power that's vested in the legal system, it is the community.
Very much so. And we just have to give expression to their mandate.
While we're discussing at Komkhulu, we saw quite huge trucks. They were just below us at Komkhulu, and they were putting some long machines, and they were drilling while we were talking.
Seriously, they were, while you were having a conversation?
While we were having a conversation, they were just there and drilling. We said it's better to have a committee where we're going to connect all the 5 villages. Here, it was very difficult to send the message because the distance between the villages is too far apart. Now, after we formed the Amadiba Crisis Committee, it was very easy. Whatever is happening in any village, we are just going, all of us there. Our first role as Amadiba Crisis Committee, we were given at Komkhulu that we need to go to the police station to report, because this is a violation of a human right. We go to the police, we go to Bizana municipality, but none of them, they did even come to listen, just listen. What is the problem? What is bothering these people? Not even one person from the police, from the municipality, from the ANC. And then we just realized, okay, everybody is not supporting us. That means they are part and parcel of what is happening here. And then we just think it's better to involve the lawyers.
Or it will be going to court if you try to start building.
It was clear at Komkhulu that our aim to go to court, we seek the right to say no. We need to have a right to decide and to choose.
The right to say no as a legal principle was actually not enshrined as such in the South African Constitution. What did you do to actually upgrade it to that point where there was actually a legal right to say no?
South African colonialism and apartheid drastically intensified when diamonds were first discovered in Kimberley and then gold in the Witwatersrand. That history of mining has been a history of sweeping black people off their land for white and multinational profit. That logic prevails even under democratic South Africa. Because of South Africa's racist history, it provides that people who have insecure tenure should be given secure tenure through an act of parliament. And so it says you have a right to consent to any deprivation. So we took that and said you have a right to consent. And what's always been assumed in South Africa, because mining is its original sin, is that mining trumps everything. So there was always this tacit assumption that whatever consent might be is overpowered by mining. And we went and said, on the plain text of this statute, together with the fact that our mining legislation doesn't expressly override it, there is a residual right of consent for communities. And we put that to court with success.
So in the context of South Africa, this is why the 2 judgments were such a significant victory for communities, because it actually clarified that power belongs to the people. The dominant tendency was that traditional leaders would take on the role of consulting with mining companies and government to make investment decisions and mining decisions on behalf of the community. What the court judgments did was to clarify that traditional leaders cannot assume the role of communityship. In fact, people who are directly affected by mining should be the ones who make this decision.
All of us on that day, 22 November last year, we're celebrating. It was like a good thing, because we're just thinking, okay, the fight is over. We win this in court. But the Minister of Minerals says that he's going to appeal the decision. We never think that our own government can appeal against us, that we have no right to decide what is good for us. We have no right to choose the way we want to live. We thought the role of our own government is to regulate, to look the processes, the mining company, if it follows properly, not to help the mining company to get the license. The government in 2008 did grant the mining right to the Australian company. I was just called by a journalist from the radio called Xolobeni, says that the minister is coming tomorrow to your community. Nobody was telling us anything that the minister is coming. When I sent the message around and forces were running and sending the message to say, please, tomorrow, everybody must go to that meeting. When we were at the meeting, we saw like plus minus 40 buses. And when you enter at the marquee, there was attendance register. All those people were being bussed. They were being told to fill their names under our own villages. And then, our late chairperson, Bazuga, was calling us aside, said, hey guys, we have a problem here. I never seen such a police. And I'm sure the police station on that day were being closed. They were bringing the ambulances, the van, all the material, and some other police were coming with helicopters.
It's like one of the scariest things is when the police come with their own ambulance. You're like, okay, they're going to do something bad.
And the meeting is to announce the mining right. What is the purpose of ambulance?
So they planned that day to basically do you guys in.
Yeah.
That was the day they wanted to crush you.
When the struggle was starting to become rough, we heard that there's a hit list. And on the hit list, it was Bazuga, myself, Mzamo. And Bazuga was getting worried. And he said, please, Nonhle, take this serious. I think it was like 20-8 when I was like sitting, and then his brother, he called me. He said, Bazuga has been shot. His son, he said, there was 2 people, they were calling themselves police. They said they are looking for his father. They said they want to take him to police station. He said, I hide myself because I don't know what to do. It's only me and my father. They shot him many times. And he said, I heard one last word from my father when he's on the ground. He said, call Nonhle. We're just telling ourselves what we're going to do now. Bazuga is dead. And we know that Bazuga was protecting us a lot from this struggle. Can we cry? And we said, no, it's not going to help us at all. And Bazuga told us that, guys, here we are working like soldiers. If one of our soldiers fell, let's not look back. Let's look forward.
From an environmental perspective, communities have realized the environmental impacts of mining, pollution, sicknesses such as silicosis. From a health perspective, it's not beneficial to the community. The lack of mining actually affords South Africa the opportunity to move into a just transition.
Are you aware of the Marikana?
I know there was a massacre, a mining company, but more I don't know.
Exactly. So one of the roots of that massacre was paying an appropriate wage to the workers.
Right.
What illicit financial flows does is it takes away money that's supposed to be spent on healthcare, education, paid to the state to fund social and economic state functions. Not only does it take away that money, it also takes away from wages. So now you have people dying in South Africa because a company will say, I don't afford 12,500 rand. But actually you're taking money from South Africa secretly out into tax havens. So essentially we're bleeding out money. And therefore it's just not worth actually having mining here.
We can't just say this is good for the country for just 22 years, and then after 22 years, you left this area a havoc. You can't reverse the damage that you're going to cause here, and you're going to cause dependent syndrome to our own people. Right now, people are dependent for themselves. Now, once the community is dependent to the state for survival, it's problematic.
So what's the situation now? Does the company have mining rights or not? Or what is the deal?
Hey, now the situation is very frustrating because the government, they don't want to accept the defeat.
Like communities, local communities fight them.
Yeah.
See, this was the very last community who hasn't signed for the N2 yet. Am I right?
Yes. If they are connecting the whole community, why they build the road at the end of the earth? Who is connected? If you look at the documents of the mining company, they put the report that the N2 is going to support their own project. It's the same WhatsApp group, it's the same group of people that are pushing these two projects. The purpose of building the highway here is nothing to do to connecting our communities. It's about helping the mining company because there is no way here you can mine here without a proper road. We are not anti-development. We want our community to be accessible, but not with the highway. Highway is going to split our community into two parts, and it's going to be fenced.
We believe, as the citizen of South Africa, that we have a right to ask our government to bring us a development. That kind of a development we need, it's a tourism and agriculture. We need a sustainable development. We know exactly here what we need as Amadiba people. But now they always bring those development because the government, they have their own interest.
We had one day when we were hiking up a gorge, and then we saw, separated by the river, two types of social order. On the Xolobeni community side, you had a sort of beautifully open patchwork of homesteads, of fields, of livestock, of grazing. It was a totally functioning community of folks who lived confidently and happily. It's not, I think, an accident that there is a total resonance and a rhyme between the right to say no and no means no. What has happened is that there's a massive pushback against men's ability to just access and control other bodies.
Amakhempu la siwabesivele siwakhile sihlala nawo bakhenkethi phuhlisa lolo nje osifunayo esibonayo ukuthi aludla imhlaba lolo.
Now, people are worried about me, especially my grandmother. She always begging me, please, just let it go, because I know you are stubborn like your grandfather. Your grandfather was part of the Pondo Revolt. He said that I didn't want to surrender because I know the reason I'm fighting, I'm not fighting for myself. I've done my part, and it's your part now. Make sure that when you take a decision, this decision is not going to affect the next generation. Because when you're dead, and then your children, they said, we are in this crisis because of our parents. What kind of ancestor are you? You can take money, but the money is going to finish. But the land will never finish. It's your legacy of your children and the children and the children. No matter what the court says, it's not going to change our minds. This is our lives. This is us. The court cannot decide about our lives and how can we live our life. We'll fight this battle all the way to Constitutional Court. And even if it's not in favor of us, it's not the end of the world. We'll continue to fight on the ground. we're not going to change our mind.
Because the decision is ultimately yours.
The decision is us. We've already taken a decision. No, it's a no.